Move on. So this is what I have in memory. This is what I have in the code. And I begin to forget all the details about my classes. Right now I am mostly focusing on the fact that circle, square, and rectangle are all shapes. All of them define method draw. I was able to test it already. But I want much more flexible way of handling shapes. For example, once shape is created, I would like to forget whether it's a circle, a rectangle. I want to basically be able to do just a few things with it. For instance, I'd like to be able to create them, remove them, right? And I also would like to be able to draw them. That's about it. So now I can say that, how about this? What if I create the so-called array of shapes? And this is the syntax for creating an array of shapes. So let's see. Shape is a class. We know that. But here is an array of objects of the shape class. However, redundant it all sounds, this is what this line is. Basically, it says shape is an array named shapes, which contains 3 shapes. Okay, the drawing should help. So here's the drawing of an array. An array is an object. It sits in memory. I said I want 3 pieces to be created for me. So there are actually 3 pieces right here. Okay, 3 pieces. It's another object. That's why I try to draw it like 3D. And what I am going to do next, I'm going to say that because circle is a shape, because square is a shape, because rectangle is a shape, I'm going to say shape 0 equals circle. Interesting. So what happens is this, that in Java, array of objects is capable of storing these references. So just look at this diagram. Number 1, I have 1, 2, 3 objects in memory. They're all created and populated with data. I already tested that I actually can do things to these objects, and I can say draw. Where did my... Oh, that's a recording. All right. So I can tell them draw. But I also do not directly manipulate these objects. What Java programming language does for me, what compiler does for me, that it actually creates those references named circle, square, and rect, which keep track of where the location of my object is. What it really means is that somewhere here, I can say circle, which is an already existing a reference to a circle object in memory. I can say create yet a new circle, and with the radius 57. Okay, so that's how easy it is to actually update this reference variable, because a programmer decided, I just want to create another circle, and what's going to happen, I'll just spare time and say Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste, and create a brand new circle somewhere here, maybe, somewhere here, right? And then I will fix the original drawing here, right? And so from this point on, this connection, once I say circle equals new circle, this connection is lost. I am completely losing connection to this, and instead I purposely remember the location of this brand new circle with brand new radius. This contains a radius 35. This one is 57. So this contains, contain radius 35, right? And this one is now 57, right? 57. Okay? So I completely lost this object, but it was intentional because Java says that's okay. You can create an object, use it, then basically no longer keep track of it, and guess what? Eventually it will be garbage collected and destroyed by the Java virtual machine. So I kind of tried to demonstrate that I tend to have some flexibility. So what happens now is that I would like to take an array of these shapes, really references to shapes, and store these references, C, S, rec, which are really circle, square, and rec in my program, and store these references in this array. So now this reference points here. How so? Because I say shape 0, this element is accessible through index 0, this 0 index. Then I want to say shape 1, the next element, equals square. And yet another shape, actually shapes, that's the name of the array, I apologize, shapes. And then this one is index 2 equals rec. So what I just did, without making any changes to my objects, I still have 3 objects, this one, and this one. And instead, I'm copying these references into an array of these references. And so now my array remembers location of these 3 objects. Just like C, S, and rec here, now I have this array that now points and keeps track of objects. It's very typical, by the way, situation to, instead of creating individual objects like circle, square, and rectangle, actually just do this, new circle, and whatever, circle 120 radius. Okay, so I mean it's very typical to, instead of, if I know I need to deal with a collection of objects, I choose my collection, such as array, for example. It's just, I am trying mostly today rely on these drawings rather than syntax, right? But the advantage now is that, the advantage of doing all this, this array, this is an array of shapes. An array of shapes doesn't know what it's pointing to. Is it a circle? Is it a rectangle? Is it some other brand new drawing primitive, which I also can derive from a shape class, like I did with my circle and my rectangle and so forth? I can create like a sphere, right? Or whatever, 3D. I could switch to 3D objects and do more things with those, right? So an interesting part of this design is that the compiler never complains that I create a circle, a square, and a rectangle and store these objects in an array of shapes. And shape is, look how simplistic it is. Shape is just something that is capable of being drawn, being displayed. So to finish this demonstration, I can now say that I mean, if I truly wanted to be flexible, I could say scanner SC equals new scanner, and the scanner takes system system.out. Just check my time here. System in input stream. I will cheat and say fix imports, so I don't have to type imports. So what I just did, I added an import directive for the scanner at the top of my class. Again, this is to be discussed in the future. I just want to ask user system.out.print line, right? And I will print which element to draw, question mark, right? And then say int index idx equals scanner get, I'm sorry, next int, just like give me an integer from the keyboard. And then what I'm going to say, shapes, and display that particular one that the user wants draw. Okay, so this demonstrates the fact that we created this array of 3 shapes. At some point we decided this should be a circle, this should be a rectangle, this should be something else. I could create a bigger array, and I could populate it with like 5 circles and 3 rectangles, right? Later on, as you can see, I can quickly update and replace circles with bigger circles or rectangles with squares and things like that. I can do anything I want inside of this array. This array defines my ultimate drawing. So now I am asking user which element you want to draw, just to demonstrate the fact that I am totally flexible at this point. Remember, we wanted to be as flexible as possible. So if I run this, if I save everything, and if I run this, if I didn't make too many mistakes, it tells me now which element you want to draw. Okay, perhaps I want to draw element number 1. And it says it's a square, right? If I rerun this, if I say which element, element 0 inside this array, now it says it's a circle, right? And if I run it again, if I want to draw element number 2, that says it's a rectangle, right? And finally, if I run it again and specify element number 3, which doesn't exist. In Java, arrays are 0 based and indexes 0, 1, 2. Element number 3 doesn't exist. So if I say element number 3, we get a runtime exception, which means that our program was terminated and we violated something. We didn't check the access to our elements. So this demonstrates a dynamic a set of behaviors which we need to discuss next in the remaining few minutes.